Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Gwent Crematorium Joint Committee for Wednesday, the 31st of January. Item 1, apologies for absence. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Nothing? Okay, thank you. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting, which is pages 3, 4, 5 and 6. Any corrections? Everybody content with the minutes then? Anybody like to move that they're a true record?
Yeah, I'm quite happy to move on that, please.
Thank you very much. All content?
If I could give the Chair, if I could abstain because I was absent from that meeting.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
And myself as well. Yeah.
Okay, I think minutes are agreed. So item 4 is the review of fees and budget proposals. Is that...
Yep, that's myself. Thank you.
Jo to present. Thank you very much.
Yes, please. Thank you. Morning, everyone. So today I'm just preparing this report for budget proposal and review of the fees for 24-25 financial year. So presenting the draft budget proposals, I've got Appendix 1, which is the distribution summary for 23-24, Appendix 2, which is the fees for consultation, and Appendix 3, which sets out the draft budget proposals for 24-25. So during this meeting, members are being asked to agree a distribution of £250,000 in 23-24 financial year, agree to use the reserves to repay the outstanding loan on the mercury abatement equipment in this financial year, agree a 10% fee increase in 24-25, approve the resulting budget proposals for 24-25. Any fee increase that we decide today will be implemented from the 1st of April. So it's the time of year now to come across setting the budget for the coming year. The fee options are detailed within this report on Appendix 2, along with the resulting draft proposals on Appendix 3, which show a planned surplus of £431,585 with no fee increase, 486,461 surplus for a 4% increase, and 568,775 surplus if the committee approves a 10% fee increase. All of these figures are prior to any distribution. So for the financial summary for 23-24, the table on page 8 shows the position as at the 31st of December, and some areas that should be brought to your attention are the income. So the position as at the end of December is showing an outturn forecast of £270,000 less than budgeted. So the budgeted position was based on 85% of service times being booked, and the table below on page 9 highlights that there's been a decrease in the cremation numbers due to the reduced operating hours as a result of the refurbishment works. So the refurbishment works are currently still going on at the crematorium. Most of the works have been completed and they'll be completed by the end of the financial year, and the service manager will update on this. Employees, the crematorium has experienced lots of staffing changes this financial year, and as a result has had to take on agency support to maintain service provision. This has had a knock-on effect of a significant impact on the financial situation with regard to employees, resulting in a projected overspend of £60,000. Recruitment is now planned, and again the service manager will update on this in their manager's report. Premises, the savings on premises showing for financial year 23-24 is mainly attributable to utilities. Budgets were increased to take account of the sharp spike in projected energy prices. However, expenditure has not met these levels, and therefore budget proposals include a reduction in 24-25. So you can see at the on page 9, the table for gas and electricity shows the budget relating to the expenditure that we have. Capital financing costs. The forecast for 23-24 assumes that the committee will agree to repay the outstanding loan on the mercury abatement equipment, which is currently 265,803. There are 5 years remaining on this loan, and by making a one-off repayment from reserves, the reserves balances would remain at £1,015,000 prior to any distribution agreed today. Annual revenue costs would be reduced by £53,000 per year, and this would partly offset any cost of additional capital financing relating to the cremator replacement, which will be discussed in a report later. The budget agreed for 23-24 presumed a £340,000 surplus, and that would have been insufficient to make the distribution of £450,000 without utilising some of the reserves. The current projections of £148,000 deficit this financial year indicates that a £450,000 distribution would require a more significant draw from reserves, reducing the levels to £565,000. This position supports the advice that from a budget planning point of view, these historic distribution levels can no longer be maintained without expiring the reserve balances completely. Therefore, the recommendation is that the committee approves a £250,000 distribution for 23-24. Has anybody got any questions before I move on to 24-25? No? Okay, great. So moving on to page 10, review of the fees for 24-25. So Appendix 2 shows that our current fee of £845 is lower than the average of our geographically nearest competitors of £927. Cremation numbers have decreased this year due to the refurbishment works and the reduced level of service provision. However, these are expected to return again in 24-25. If the cremator replacement is approved, the installation is not expected to affect service provision, as cremators 3 and 4 would still remain operational. A 10% fee on adult cremations would increase the fee from £845, an increase of £85 per adult cremation, to £930, and that would bring us more in line with our competitors. And if cremation numbers remain the same as projected, could generate additional revenue of £137,000. So that's relating to the fee increase. And that's all shown in Appendix 2, if anybody wants to look at that in Appendix 2. So 24-25 budget then. Budget set in Appendix 3 shows the draft budget proposals with 3 different fee level increases. Assuming a fee level increase of 10%, income levels have been based on 1,614 cremations, which is more in line with 22-23 actual outturn. Running costs are consistent under each fee option as they are unaffected by the fee levels. Even with no fee increase, the 24-25 draft budget indicates a net surplus of £432,000, which is an increase of £92,000 on 23-24 levels. Whilst cost headings have increased due to price and inflation increases, there has been a significant decrease in energy costs of 20%, and this explains the decrease in expenditure levels for 24-25 budget. For the premises, as a result of the downward trend in utility prices, as I've just explained, supply costs are expected to reduce by around 20%. The introduction of a contribution to the repairs and renewals reserve within the overall premises budget will smooth out the fluctuating cremator repairs and maintenance costs that we've experienced in recent years. Further work continues to be required on this area to ascertain more accurate estimates, but the new proposed cremator will impact on this. So therefore, for now, continuation will carry on with £100,000 contribution to the reserve until we have more information on this. So for if the Committee approves the recommendation for cremator replacement. There could be additional savings in both gas usage and cremator repairs and maintenance costs. However, these will not be realised until the new cremator would be up and running until the latter end of the year, so September to October time of 2024. So any resulting savings would be the latter end of the year, and that's what's been reflected in the draft budgets for 24-25. Capital financing costs for 24-25. The table on page 11 shows the capital financing costs and the impact on the revenue budget if the Mercury abatement loan is repaid. So we're asking the committee to consider the recommendation that the Mercury abatement loan of £265,000 is repaid in this financial year, which would have the resulting reduction of £53,000 to ongoing capital financing costs within the revenue budget. If the committee approves the cremator replacement financing cost would be £84,916 instead of £138,000 per year annually, and that's shown in the table on page 11. So on to page 12, the options available then. There are options available for consideration for fees, distribution to the constituent authorities and resulting fee levels. Distribution, so the projections for 23-24 indicating a deficit of £148,000 prior to any distribution. Reserve balances are currently £1.16 million, shown in Appendix 1. If the final outturn is as projected, a distribution of £450,000 would require a draw of £598,000 from reserves, reducing the balance at the year end to £565,000. A £250,000 distribution would still require a draw from reserves of £398,000, however would retain reserve balances of £765,000. So again, the reserve balances as shown in Appendix 1 are currently £1.16 million, and the committee has options to draw from these reserves to maintain a distribution to current constituent authorities. The committee could ask to use some of the reserve balances to fund the outstanding loan of the Mercury abatement equipment, which is £265,000. This is currently being funded from revenue budgets at a cost of £53,000 a year, and there's 5 years remaining on that loan. Using the reserves to repay the outstanding loan would reduce the revenue expenditure by £53,000, which would partly offset any funding required if the committee would approve the recommendation for the cremator replacement. The options for the fees would be a 4% fee increase in line with inflation, which would increase the fee from £845 to £879 and could result in additional income of £54,000. This fee level would still be lower than the average of our competitors. A 10% fee increase would increase the fee from £845 to £930 and would match the average of our competitors and could bring in additional income of £137,000. A 30% fee increase would be required to bring us in line with our competitors, the private crematorium at Langstone and Sahawi Valley. Their fee is currently £1,010, so we would need a 30% increase to match theirs. The distributions recommended then, so these are the recommendations. It is recommended that the committee agree a distribution of £250,000 in 23-24 financial year, with the shortfall to be taken from reserves. This would ensure the committee retains reserves of just over £1 million, and this is shown in Appendix 1. Then starting from 24-25, it's suggested that the future dividends would revert to levels consistent with the annual surplus generation. If the committee agrees to repay the outstanding loan on the Mercury abatement equipment of £265,000, this would affect the reserve balances, and again that's shown on Appendix 1. And the fee levels, we're recommending an increase of 10% to match the fees of our current average competitors. Gwent Crematorium is now well placed in the current market and is attracting increased business from funeral directors and families. Marion, did you want to make any comments before the committee agrees anything?
No comment at the moment, so I'll just hear what the members have got to say and respond accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. So are we happy with the recommendations? Has anybody got any questions, or are we happy with the recommendations put forward on this report?
Yeah, thank you very much for that report. We'll take questions and discussion now. I've got a few questions, but does anybody else like to ask anything first? Okay, I'll ask a couple of... Oh, got a hand up, sorry. Councillor Evans, is it?
Yeah, I don't know whether you hear me.
Not terribly well, but
yeah.
persevere.
Sorry, I'm in the chamber. It's not the best. The £56,000 we're saving and paying the loan off, that would take 5 years of paying that loan then, when they're thinking about the equation. Is it better to do that because the cost would rise, or is it easier to pay it all off and make the bigger settlement? That's all I'm going to ask.
So the reason that we've suggested to reduce the annual revenue costs is because this would just reduce one of the ongoing expenditures that we have against our revenue budget. So if we were to think about taking on any future capital financing costs with regard to the cremator replacement, it just reduces the annual revenue.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. That explains.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments anybody'd like to make? I'll ask a couple if I may then. On page 12, you talk about the cremation numbers being 1,614, estimated on capacity of 85%. So without having done the arithmetic, does that indicate that the capacity is about 2,000 if it was 100%?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So if you look back in the figures from a few years ago, we were dealing with higher numbers than that. So I wonder what that changes. I think going back to something like 2012 or 13, 14, I think it was even up to 3,000. So
yes, that's right. So the change in the cremation numbers is due to the fact that we've increased the service time. So we've increased the service time, which was previously 20 minutes. So obviously there's less services within the day now.
Okay, so
we've got less available slots than we would have had a number of years ago.
So 100% capacity is about 2,000, is it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I think the number is in the report somewhere.
Okay.
I think it was something like 1,898.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's on page 10. In 24-25 budget, assuming a fee increase of 10%, income levels are based on 1,614 cremations, which is 85% maximum cremations, 1,898. So that's what we're projecting based on the number of days, the number of services available. That would be the maximum. But very often, sometimes the earlier service times are not available, not taken up. Families don't tend to want to have a service at 9:30 in the morning, for example.
Yes, I understand that. I wondered if somebody could take me through page 18, appendix 3. I think it's the same on one of the other pages, 8 or 9. The income is negative. The expenditure is positive. I'm sure this is just my lack of familiarity with it, but I would have thought income of 1.5 million and an expenditure of 1.2 million, we would have a surplus. So why is
Yes, that's right. Yes, so surplus at the bottom. So the bottom line of so in the 10% increase, for example, on page 18, we're showing a £568,000 surplus. So the surplus is in brackets. So, I mean, it's just shown as a minus sign here, but it should be in brackets. So basically, it's just saying that we have more income than we have expenditure, which is resulting in the surplus.
So why is income negative?
That's just the way that we show it in the accounts because it's money into the authority.
Thank you. And the other thing I just wanted to ask about was the transport. I know it's not a very big item, but there's some variation there. I just wondered if you could tell me about what the transport costs and changes were.
So in transport, it was always, historically, there were things like staff transport costs, for example, so staff expenses for travel and subsistence, fuel issues. I think over the years they've had some, I don't know whether Joe Gossage will be able to help with this one, but I think over the years they've had some equipment placed on site as opposed to having to bring equipment onto site. Joe, am I right in saying that?
Yes, Joe, yes, you're right.
Thank you. So basically we're just saying that we had a budget previously of £1,000. Our expenditure is not matching that and therefore we're reducing the budget.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to make any comments or ask any questions?
If I could, Madam, could I ask a question? Am I allowed to ask a question?
I believe so.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lady has said the costs at the present moment for cremation are 845, and there's a proposal of an increase of 930. Did I read that right, Madam?
You did, yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Does the committee want to take all those proposals together, or shall we take the 4 proposals one at a time?
Take them all together, probably be easier.
Okay, nobody seems to be raising any issues then. So the proposals are that we agree a distribution of 250,000. We use the reserves to pay for the mercury abatement equipment. We agree a 10% fee increase, and we approve the resulting budget for 24-25. All those in favour, please indicate. Okay, that looks like unanimous. So thank you very much. That is agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
report. Item 5 then is the solar energy update. I think that's over to you, Joe.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Get that right. So this was a paper that was presented at the last committee meeting. We had some questions from the members at that time, and the answers to those questions have been circulated. So just to confirm for the committee notes that this proposal has been approved. This proposal has been approved by the committee. I would like to just refresh the members' minds about the 4 questions that were asked, and if the members could indicate that they are happy for us to go ahead with the proposal to put the solar panels onto the roof of the facility. So we have the first question was, what would happen to the solar panel asset should the provider company fold? The response from the carbon reduction team is that the assets would have to then switch to another company who was a company that was the same or had a similar aim and objective of the EGNI Co-op, who are the original installers. If we developed the building, we'd only need to pay for the depreciation value, and if the CREM was to become derelict and unused, then the panels would just remain on the roof. It would be their risk that the panels were on the roof. So I hope this answer that's given and circulated in the papers satisfies the members that we are not going to be at a huge amount of risk by having these panels on the roof. The second question was about the ability to access the roof space for maintenance. So we can have the panels removed up to 3 times during the terms of the lease. So that will allow us to get to, issues on the roof such as leaks or whatever it may be. So 3 times within the agreement. There was a third question on the planning development certificate, and the team have confirmed that a certificate of lawful use or development has been received. So that's the answer to that one. And the fourth question was, what should occur should the council not be able to fulfil their requirements? The team were a bit uncertain about this. They mentioned that this is possibly a repeat of the first question about the folding of the company and or getting rid of the building. So they've provided an answer that says about the panels remaining in place under the lease, and if it was sold or became unused as a building, as a crematorium, that was the risk of the supplier installers. So could I ask, please, if the chair could ask the members if they're happy with those responses, and can we move forward with the installation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So it looks like a question from Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether you hear me very well, but I'm not sure I heard from the person who just gave the report whether the roof was strong enough to actually take these solar panels, because I sit on other boards and they have the same issues that the roofs are not strong enough to take the panels. So I wanted a reassurance that that's been looked into.
We'll have a response from Joe Gossage first, please.
So, Councillor Evans, yes, I think we went through this in the previous meeting, that the roof had been surveyed. I can sort of look across to colleagues from Norse, because I think they undertook the survey of the roof, and I think this was all covered in the previous meeting. But what I'll do is I'll go away and check this, and it can be a point that we come back on. But I'm fairly certain, I don't have the paper in front of me from last time, but I'm fairly certain that we did cover this on the last committee meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan?
Sorry, but yeah, I wasn't at the last meeting, look, so perhaps that's why I missed it.
Going to what Madam George just said, Mr. Ryan commented on the structure of the roof area as the stability to take the weight of the panels due to the crematorium being built in the late 1950s. This was taken into consideration, and it was suggested by Norse representative that the survey take place prior to the works carried out. This element to be carried out by the installers themselves. That was brought up at the last meeting, Madam, by myself.
Excellent. So Norse have confirmed that the building is firm then? Yeah?
That is my understanding, but as I said, I'll check back on that, because I don't have the papers in front of me. Apologies.
Okay, so we'll check on that, I think.
Well, thanks very much anyway for the update.
Excuse me, is the representative from Norse on here who could give us an answer on this?
The representative for Norse was on at the start of the meeting, but they've appeared to have left, so we're trying to call them in again, but currently they're not in the meeting.
Yeah, that's what I... Sorry, Joe Gossage. Can I just ask you whether you covered all of the questions from the previous meeting? Is there a question about lawful development?
The sheet that I was given from the officer doesn't include a fifth question. Sorry. Is there a discrepancy between the?
So we need two questions answered then, I think. One is there a lawful, is it lawful development?
Yes.
And is the roof structurally sound, which, yeah.
The structural sound question isn't on this list actually, sorry.
So we've got two outstanding questions on the solar panels that need answering then.
Sorry, Chair, could you repeat that? So it's the strength of the roof.
Yes.
And what was the second question?
A planning permission, essentially, isn't it? Lawful development, certificate of lawful development. That
was confirmed that we did have. We've got a certificate of lawful use or development has been received. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. That was on this sheet. Sorry.
So the lawful certificate of lawful development is confirmed then.
Yes.
So the question we're left with is the roof.
Roof strength.
Councillor Cross.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. How is the roof constructed, please?
I can't answer that. We're trying to call the Norse officer back in.
We've had an email response from the Norse representative. He's been logged out and he can't get back in, so we're trying to figure ways to get him back into the meeting.
Okay, I think can we just pause that item whilst we go on to the funeral director's report and the manager's report, and then if we can get the Norse officer back in, we can ask him that question. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to facilities management report. Oh, that's Norsk again, isn't it? Okay. Perhaps we'll go to you then, Mr. Ryan, for your update whilst we're trying to contact the Norsk
Thank you, Madam
representative.
Chairman. One comment I've had made from Philip Tomlinson's the funeral director of the NAFD. Right, at this present moment, the funeral directors, if they take cremated remains from the crematorium and they then return them thereafter, they are charged £92. We certainly think this is completely needs to be reviewed. And the reason being, when we take cremated remains from the crematorium, we are not allowed to take cremated remains out in the crematorium prior to taking them away. We then take, let's say, small items of like a spoonful, 2 spoonfuls, 3 spoonfuls out for the ashes to glass and the cremated remains, if they want earrings, anything like this, jewellery, and we take them out and we take them back. We are charged £92. If the crematorium do the ashes to glass in-house, right, there is no charge. They take the cremated remains out. They then put the cremated remains in, either bury them or put them in sanctums at the crematorium, right? We think this is very unfair, and we think this £92 should be revised. That is the first question, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Can we ask the manager to consider that and report back at the next meeting?
Yes, Chair. We were advised of this issue, or the issue raised by Mr. Ryan, by another funeral director actually as well. So we have had a couple of queries relating to this, but only in the last couple of weeks. So what we'll have to do is have a review of this and report back to the committee next time.
Thank you. So it would be interesting to know what comparable charges were with other crematoriums.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
This only came in, Madam Chairman, about 2 years ago. Right, it was never dealt with before that. It came in as an extra income to the crematorium, to be fair. We certainly think it's unfair, and I do support this, and all the funeral directors feel the same, to take the ashes, the cremated remains away, take a couple of spoonfuls out for ashes to glass or jewellery or whatever, and then take them back, we charge £92. Right? If it's done within the crematorium and it's done in-house, there's no charge. They take them out, and naturally you sell the ashes to glass. Right? This is where it's all come from, madam, but this is supported by all the NAFD members.
thank you very much. We'll take that away and bring a report back to the next committee meeting.
Thank you, madam.
Is there anything else you'd like to raise?
We've covered the solar panels, madam. If I could go down, the position of the new crematorium supervisor or chairman, has this been taken into account yet? I know, in fairness, I've been speaking to Joe, right, that it is now a dual situation where the crematorium superintendent and the cemetery superintendent become under one hat?
Team leader.
Or team leader. Right. Has anything been taken into consideration about this yet, madam?
I wonder if Joe Hazelwood is able to answer that for us.
Hi. It hasn't been taken into consideration. There hasn't been any staffing changes at the moment. I don't know whether Jo Gossage has got a report on staffing matters that she could bring forward. So I haven't got an update on this at the moment, sorry, but if there's any information to be brought, I can bring it to the next committee meeting.
Would you like me to respond, Chair? So we had a mini restructure which was reported to the last committee, whereby we're amalgamating the team leader role from for the crematorium and the cemeteries as one whole bereavement services team leader, so bereavement services manager. Within the structure, under this bereavement services manager, there is a deputy manager for the CREM, and there's a cemeteries manager in place. So they are positions that are filled. The only post we don't have filled is the team leader role, which is the bereavement services team leader role, which we are currently out to advert on. The adverts close on the 16th, I believe, 16th of February. We tried to advertise for this post late last year and were unsuccessful in attracting a suitable candidate. So we've gone out to advert again.
Thank you very much.
That covers all I've got here, madam, is the position of bereavement service manager would be advised at a later date following the appointment of the admin staff. And in fairness, Hayley has come now on board. Yeah. Right, she's been absolutely brilliant in fairness. It was put forward that negotiations were ongoing for the installation of an FT3 cremator.
Is that item 10?
Yes.
Yeah, that's coming up later in item 10.
Right. And also the agenda installation of flues to allow for abatement emissions. Would that be under item 10 as well?
Yes, under item 10, yeah.
And, well, I think this would come under it as well, Madam Chairman. The electric hybrid to be investigated for a lower gas consumption. Right, that's item 10 as well, is it?
That's not included in item 10 because we're not looking at that at the present time, but it would be something that we'd bring to the committee in the future.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. That was me trying to reduce our carbon footprint, was it? Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Is there anything else you'd like to ask? No. 10th, good. Any progress with Catching North? Oh, yes, please.
Well, okay, so the report from Norse is as follows. There's been the usual general maintenance requests such as heating issues and lighting and light fitting replacements over the last couple of months. The biggest issue we have had was with the roofing works over the waiting room area. The unprecedented amount of named storms, the persistent bad weather and fact that the work has to be done on the weekends has made completing the works challenging. It must also be said that the feedback about the roofing contractor's performance has not been great and is something Norse are dealing with privately. The main contract seemed to go so well, so given the challenges of working at the crematorium. As a result of the delays and the weather, there has been some light water damage to the refurbished areas, but this will be rectified at no cost to the service once the roof is completed. It's anticipated that the works to the roof will be completed over the next 2 dry weekends. And that's the end of the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, but there's no comment in there about the strength of the roof, is there?
I've emailed him back.
If any questions are provided, we'll just collate them as a response and I can forward it to all the committee members.
Only the situation, Madam, is the stability of the roof, that's all. To take the solar panels.
Okay, so we've emailed that question and we're waiting for a response on it. The question from me was, when do they expect the current work to be finished? Is that?
I think he said he didn't say the next 2 months.
And is that everything?
The roof will be completed over the next 2 dry weekends. I'm not sure what else there is.
Okay. All right, so we'll leave that now for a response. Hopefully it will come through soon. We'll turn to item 8 then, which is the manager's report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm giving the manager's report today on behalf of the interim manager, James Webster. He compiled a report for the committee pack. We have seen memorial sales increasing very, very well over the last quarter. There seem to be quite a lot of people wanting to renew and purchase new blocks and vaults, so that's been good news for the team. The cremation services themselves, as has been reported by the finance officer, they're lower than over the last 10 years, but they have remained steady. And this also has to take into account that we were losing services because of the works and also the extension to the works. So if I can refresh the committee's mind, the works began in April, end of April last year. We've had various extensions to the works and for the waiting room. So this has affected the morning slots with funerals beginning at 11:30. We've gone back to full services now, which is good news for all concerned, and this has seen an increase in the services that we've been providing over the last couple of months. So that's where you see the figures on the list from 2023 really dipping down over the summer months and then coming back up again. As we've discussed earlier, there's been several changes in staff. Hayley Pask is our new admin officer. She's joined us from the Langstone Crem, and she's settling in very well. And we have a new cremator operator, Delmy Love, who is chapel attendant slash cremator operator. The managerial services is still being supplied by an external company. And as I said before, in answer to the funeral director's questions, the advert is now out for the bereavement services manager again, and that will close shortly. Closing date's the 16th of February. The other things, matters of the refurbishment, we did have a flood over the winter into the new waiting area, and we had to shut the waiting area for a short period of time while that dried out. We have raised this as a very high-level concern with Norse, and they have communicated this to the building company and to their subcontractors. So nobody's very happy about the situation, but it is being rectified, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks, couple of weekends, and that will be finished. So that's the roof surface being relined and yeah, the issues inside. So there's been some damage to the decor, the ceiling tiles. They've had to be replaced, and yeah, it's not going to be at the cost to the creme. Right. Yeah, so we've had servicing in January of the cremators, and the ID fan needs to be repaired. That's all booked in. We've got obviously some works that are needed to be done on cremators 1 and 2, but we'll speak about those in the next item. And that's the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Has anybody got any questions on the manager's report? No, everybody's shaking their head. I was wondering if we could arrange a visit, as we've had quite a lot of work done with the waiting room and the facilities. I don't know. I mean, obviously I could just go privately, but does anybody else want to go and have a look at the facilities, or other people have visited? Is there any comments on that?
To be honest with you, Madam, I think it's a very good idea, Madam Chairman. Right, we made the suggestion going back when I was originally representing the NAFD, going back about 5 years ago when Paul Dundon was in office, and the crematorium committee said, yes, let's make a date. It never fertilised. But I do suggest all crematorium committee members have a look at the crematorium, because it would educate you, and I'm sure Joe would agree with me. It's a very good idea to have all the members see what's going on behind the scenes.
I mean, it's you know, yes, good to be aware, isn't it? Councillor Cross?
Yeah, I'd certainly be in favour of a visit, because I've never been around. Obviously, I attended funerals a good many years ago, but I haven't been there for quite a while, to be honest. And ironically, when we are debating certain aspects of the running of it, etc., then obviously I'm at a loss, because I don't really understand a lot of the terminology that's being used. And I think it would also be good from this committee to meet some of the members of staff there as well, because you're mentioning people. And I think a face-to-face sort of, you know, discussion, and we know we're referring to them rather than just be a name. So yeah, I would certainly be in favour of a visit there.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lacey?
Thank you, Councillor Forty. Yeah, just to say I'm in agreement exactly what Councillor Cross said, so I'd be happy to go on that visit.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, all the points have been majorly. I've been there, well, like everybody, unfortunately, to attend funerals, but obviously I'm not aware of the sort of the other end of it. So I think it would be a worthwhile idea. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we think the end of the day would be better?
The end of the day can be quite busy sometimes, Chair. It may be better in the morning, if that was at all possible, for the members to come around about sort of between 9 and 10 o'clock. That's usually the quieter times.
Thank you. Councillor Lane?
Well, I would certainly welcome, a visit indeed. I mean, I've been officiating at funerals there for 25 years, and I'm one who appreciates the extra time, not 20 minutes, but 40 minutes. I appreciate that very much, and families do too. But I would certainly like to, yes, I'd like to visit, please.
Okay, so I will ask the officer to send around some dates, and we'll arrange it for sometime in the near future then.
Madam Chairman, could I be involved in that meeting as well? It'd be a pleasure to be involved.
Yes, as a member of the committee, I don't see any reason why not. So I'll ask officers to arrange a date and see when we can go. And it sounds like sort of 9 o'clock would be the most suitable time.
Madam Chairman, I do accept what Joe has said, but we do direct funerals in early mornings now at 9 and 9:30. Right? It's just a suggestion for me that after the crematorium finishes, and I think the last is 4:30, Joe, if I remember rightly. Would it be better after the 4:30?
Well, I'll speak to the manager, and we'll put round some suggested dates and times.
Fair enough.
Could I just come back on that, Chair? We do actually have more space in the mornings. That is when we do. I understand the directors do come in at about 8:30 and 9:30, but it's usually the sort of that 9 to 10 slot is free, so that would be better for us.
Okay, yeah, that's noted. So we'll have a chat about some dates and send round to see what is convenient for everybody. The IT is not really helping us today, is it? So no more questions on the manager's report then. And is there any reply from Norse? Oh, excellent. There's a reply.
Okay, so it would be normal for the solar panel company to undertake a structural survey before they proceed with any work. So they'll do a feasibility study. So you'd need to approve the go-ahead with which you've done already, actually subject to the questions being answered, and then the structural integrity of the roof would be investigated as part of the work undertaken.
Is everybody content with that? So the company are going to undertake a structural survey before they put the solar panels on. Does anybody want to raise any further questions? Mr. Ryan, did you want to come in?
My apologies. It was suggested that the element to be carried out by the installers themselves. That's all I want to put forward.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Well, at the last meeting, it was Norse, the works to be carried out. Norse represented that the survey to take place prior to any works carried out. Norse actually suggested that this element be carried out by the installers themselves. That was brought up at the last meeting, Madam Chairman.
So that's what's agreed now then. The installers will carry out a roof survey as part of their feasibility. Okay. Yeah, so is everybody content with that? Any further questions? Everybody's content. Okay, thank you very much. So I think that concludes the open part of the meeting then. Item 9 then is for us to go on